I'm live. I don't know. Are you going to close the door? Or are you staying in here? Yeah, I'm gonna leave after we get started. Okay, take it down. Good morning, everybody, and happy Wednesday. I am Liz Statlander, and you are watching Liz Live. I am a marriage and family therapist and mental health counselor based in Miami, Florida. And we have a big presence on Facebook, and we're just turning it over to YouTube. And so hopefully, the viewers on YouTube will ingratiate us. We love helping people and we love making a difference in people's lives. So, today our topic is dating. And I have a whole bunch of questions that I got from talking to people who are in the dating scene in 2021. And 2021 dating in 2021 is definitely not the same as dating when I was growing up, but it's certainly a unique year. And so there's even more questions. And why is 2021 a unique year? Well, obvious reasons. Obviously, I would say COVID is one of the things that makes it the most unique dating year. But what I also think makes it a really dating year, besides COVID, is the political climate, because people have such a hard time getting along and seeing eye to eye politically that maybe for the first time ever, it really seems to matter in the dating world. And we have to really sit and think about, are we capable of dating somebody with different political views than us? And I think that's unique to 2021. I really do. So we're going to talk about all of those issues today. And again, if this is your first time watching, thank you for tuning into Liz Live. We are we have traditionally been a Facebook Live show for the last year and a half. We just made the leap over to YouTube because we maximized our viewership, we feel, on Facebook, and we wanted to jump over to a bigger format. And we're really hoping that YouTube viewers will support us. And again, the goal of Liz Live is to help people. I am a marriage and family therapist and mental health counselor. I have a private practice where I see couples and individuals and families, and I bring a lot of the experiences and information from my live practice, my real life practice, into the show of Liz Live. We talk about everything. So, dating, we're all looking for love. We all want to be loved. We all want to find that right partner. And, it's been so difficult for single people. So I've heard over the last couple years, since really COVID. So let's talk about how COVID, first of all, changed the dating scene. I think it's obvious, but prior to COVID, the main health concerns that were really prevalent for people dating were STDs. We always had to be careful about that, and kind of wonder, is this new person that we're dating, do they use protection with other people? Have they ever had STDs? How do we broach the subject? And that was a big deal for many, many, many years, really many decades. Really beginning in the 80s with the AIDS epidemic. And more and more and more, I hear young people getting herpes and STDs and things that don't go away, that they had to learn how to deal with and confront in their dating life and their dating relationship, which is very challenging. But in 2020, we had something really bizarre. We had a international pandemic. And we didn't know in the beginning if it was, we knew it was contagious. We didn't know how contagious it was. We didn't know really anything about it. And so, government included, nobody knew what the heck was going on there during COVID. And we were like the first ever in my lifetime. We had to shut down the whole world basically for a few months. And so dating was sort of like, who's going to date in the middle of a pandemic when you're basically not allowed to leave your house and you can't be around other people without a surgical mask on. The idea of being close to someone and dating certainly became really daunting in a way that never before. So I believe that really changed the culture. And if online dating, as far as meeting someone online, when I say online dating, I'm talking about meeting a significant other, getting a date online wasn't already, a comfortable idea. Well, now during COVID, that was the way people actually had dates because they were fearful that if they were around, other people, other strangers, that they could get COVID and die. And, there's so much fear around all of that. And I see today even, some people are still very, wrapped up in fear around coronavirus. Some people aren't. By this time, I would say most people who are going to get vaccinated are vaccinated. And I'm one of those people. So I'm not really focused on COVID anymore. I just go about live my life, and that's about it. I understand it's still around, but it's just certainly not a focus of mine, although I know people are still getting it and can get it. So it's still a concern, but it's not as big of a concern as it was, a year ago, obviously. So now we have to consider COVID possibilities. Is this new person I'm dating vaccinated? Are they not vaccinated? And how do I feel about that? And when do I need to ask that information? And when do I need to find that out? What are the political ideas of this new person I'm considering dating? And do I really need to get into all of these questions to go on a, goddamn date? And my answer is, yeah, you do. And I'll tell you why. Because if you don't, you're going to wind up in some kind of, problem, or you're going to have some sort of disappointment because people have become so passionate about their ideas and their beliefs that I truthfully feel these are things that we should get out before we even go on a first date. And I know people meet each other in all these, in my view, kind of, um, bizarre ways of swiping and arrangements and all kinds of. I was looking at some of the applications with my nephew last night, and we were kind of laughing and blown away at what's out there. And that's really not my focus today. My focus, I really want to the approach I really want to take today is focusing on the really nitty gritty questions of dating. Okay. So I just hit the kind of controversial, hot button issues. And I'm going to go through this list of questions that I got from, various people in my circle and in my client base that want some questions answered. We'll see how it goes from here. And please, if you're watching, feel free to ask something on the screen, to put up a question. I'd be happy to answer it for you. Okay. So one of the first things as a, relationship, I consider myself a relationship expert. This is really the work that I study, read about, and enjoy the most in life. Um, is, you know, there are certain things that you just, for a relationship to have a good start on the very beginning, on the launching pad. I'm very firm believer that both people need to be on the same page as far as what they want to get out of this date. The most heartbreaking relationship stories and relationship events and dates always come from somebody being very disappointed because somebody really wants a relationship in the future and the other person just isn't that serious about it. They just want to date. So I think before you even consider putting yourself out there, you really need to consider what it is you're looking for. And be very clear about that before you really get involved with somebody, because if you're not clear, you could hurt somebody, which happens, but we want to try to avoid that. And you could get yourself into a really uncomfortable situation. So, guys, before you even begin dating, you need to think about, what is it that I'm looking for? Am I ready for a full blown relationship? Do I just want to have some fun and date for companionship? Do I just want sex? And believe it or not, now there are dating sites, of which I highly do not endorse, that are arrangements or seeking arrangements, and they take the intimacy completely out of relationships, and they connect you with sugar daddies or sugar babies or whatever. So it's basically a financial arrangement in return for sex, or I don't know. I don't like it because it takes intimacy away from relationships. And but it's out there. And if that's you, that's okay. I'm just not going to back that type of, that type of promotion, because it just goes against everything I stand for. But I don't judge it. If it's something you want to do, you can also just do that. You want to support somebody, sugar daddy. You want to be a sugar baby. I mean, go for it. But it's not my recommendation. So again, number one, let's get cleared. What do we want? Do we want a full blown relationship? Do we just want to date around? Do we just want someone to go to dinner and the movies with? And there's a lot of older people who, in their 60s, and they don't want to marry. They just want a companion. Okay. And that's, the younger people usually want the full package. Okay. So that's something to consider. So once you figure that out and you get clear about that, the next step is finding a match that wants the exact same thing. So if you want a serious relationship, don't go out with a guy looking for a good time. That's just stupid, and think that you're going to change him, because it's not going to happen. And I see that happen a lot. And women get really heartbroken because women always think they can change men, and that they're going to be the one, that he's going to change what he wants for. And, miracles happen, guys, but I got to be honest, not likely. Okay. So let's take calculated risks and not, stupid risks, right? So you want to say, okay, when you're going through your dating app profiles, or you're going through whatever, however you meet people, a friend who's introducing you, and you talk on the first time on the phone, you might say, hey, just want to check before we waste our time here. What are you looking for? Because I'm looking just for like a date a couple nights a week and like some fun, and that's it. Or, hey, I'm really looking for a serious relationship. And if you can have that conversation from the beginning, you're going to really save yourself a lot of problems. Okay? Because most of the early issues that come up in dating, the really early dating issues, are that people wanted two different things. Women usually want the relationship, and men, especially after they've been married, or if they're, shortly out of a divorce, they want to date around. And it's going to be, not all, but I'm just saying, need to be realistic about this. And make sure that you and your partner have the same goals, or else I would not really waste your time going out with that person. I'm sorry. I think it's a waste of time, and you could be really setting yourself up to be very hurt. So that's my view on it. You heard it here on Liz Live. Okay. Next. So that's a nice segue into number two. His number two is, what is this person's relationship history? I'm always very curious about that. Um, Not, again, to be overly judgmental, but it'll tell you a lot. So when I'm talking about relationship history, what do I mean exactly? Well, is this person a serial monogamist like myself? I happen to be one of those people. I like monogamy, and I like to be in one relationship with one person, and that's satisfies me. Okay. There are other people that like other things, especially in today's world, and we have to face those facts. And there are a lot of men out there and women who love the thrill of dating. They like to go out, they like to meet new people. It makes them excited, it makes them feel, extra loved to get all this attention from various people on dating sites, and it becomes somewhat of a pattern and a habit. And so you want to watch out for those people, because those type of people will not, usually commit to you. But it doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means that they're just not, again, looking for the same thing. And sometimes you have to ask, hey, so when was the last time you were in a long-term relationship? And um if the person says, oh, well, I've been divorced for, it's 5 years, and you can say, oh, okay, well, have you had any relationships, in that time? And if they say, no, I've just been doing a lot of dating and I like it that way, it's been fun, then that might be your cue that, you might want to be careful if you are looking for something serious, right? Because again, you always want to start off on the same page, or else you're looking for, a lot of pain and suffering for yourself moving forward. What is their relationship history? Have they been married 3, 4 times? If they've been married twice, I'm good with that. 3 divorces, 4 divorces, 5 divorces, you know, you may wanna start asking some questions there, because it's not, again, judging a person as good or bad, but it does send you a message that they fly into romantic fantasy very quickly. They fall in love very quickly, and they fall out of love very quickly. So when you hear 4, 5, 6, 7 marriages, whatever, my recommendation is to, probably walk away from that, and not go out with that person unless you're interested in doing that same type of romantic fantasy with them, where they want to jump into a fantasy with you and get married. And then as soon as it, fizzles out, they're out the door. You don't want to get involved with that. I don't think so. So, hey, relationship history, very important to know. And, depending on relationship history, then depending on your age, you also want to ask about children. Do they have children? And sometimes when divorcees are, you know, divorced and they haven't met anyone, they're really, really into their children. And they may not have the time or be willing to give up the time. If you are really looking for, if you don't have children and or you do, but you really have lots of room in your life for a relationship, because relationships require room. So I should rephrase that and say, it's not just, do they have a lot of children, or it could be, do they have a lot of family living with them, or do they have a lot of too many pets, or it could be anything. Or are they a workaholic, or where there's no room for another person? Okay, so I think that's something you have to assess, and you may not be able to assess that right away. That might take a few months of dating to really find out, okay, does this person really have room for me? Because nowadays people get very obsessed with the things that they have in their lives. And I believe that that obsession comes from a lot of the emptiness that we feel because our lives are lived so much on social media, and we're really missing the intimacy. And people, are constantly working because they can. When I was 20, or 21, I was working. When you left work, you couldn't take it with you. Now, your work's always there. So, you may want to assess over time, hey, does this person really have room for me? Are they willing to give up a couple nights a week to be with me and to let me sleep over and to sleep over my place, to really bond and connect? And I think that kind of goes into, are we looking for the same thing? What's the relationship history? And is there room for me in this person's life? Okay. Very important things to look at and to assess. Okay. You with me so far? Okay. And please, I see some people are watching. Any questions, throw them out there. I'd love to answer them, but I do have a whole list from my clients and my viewers. Okay, this one is a tough one to answer. And unfortunately, it's a big problem in the online dating scene, from what I've been told. Because I'm really not, I want to preface that, I'll tell you what I'm good at and I'll tell you what I'm not good at. And I don't online date. So I've never done it. So I cannot truly share the experience or because I've never done it. But I can give you all kinds of pointers and things to look for in a human being. Okay. But if you are, dating online, a lot of people ask, how do I know if I'm the only one? And this is, a huge problem because I have clients who meet someone online, they're really digging this person. They to find out that the guy they're dating still has a profile up, active and online. So they go, "Well, is it fair to me for me to ask him to turn off the active button after, so many dates?" And, again, I think it all comes down to everything else we're talking about. You don't want to be over controlling and tell someone what to do, but in my view, once you're having sex with somebody, once you decide to go ahead and engage and have sex with someone, then they should not be looking for anybody else. That's how I judge it. If you are going to bed with somebody and you're sharing yourself in that way, they should not be dating other people. And you shouldn't be okay with it if they are, because that puts you not only at an emotional risk of being hurt, it also puts you at a health risk because you don't know who else they're sleeping with. And I definitely would not be okay with that. So you can check and see if they're still their accounts are active, or if they have you can see on from what I've been told, most of these online dating sites, like when's the last time they were active. And I think that's a conversation to have, after in the first, couple dates or so. Like, hey, this is how I feel about it. My rule is, you know, um, if I'm if I'm having sex with you, then I'm not dating anyone else, and I'm not expecting you to either. And I think that might go into the next question I get, which is, how do I know when it's time to sleep with someone? When is sex okay? Which date? And people ask me that all the time. Every time I go to a party and people find out I'm a therapist, I get this question. And it's a really hard question to answer because everybody feels different. And I don't know that there's one answer. Like Steve Harvey, says, 90 days, women should not sleep with men for 90 days. All of those extreme views that I hear out of other relationship experts. I'm not an extremist, so I'm gonna say I get where Steve Harvey's coming from, but as a real live human being at 45, I'm not sure that in a dating scene that's really possible or really likely that it's going to happen. So, if you want to do that and wait 90 days, by all means, it's certainly not going to hurt anything, but I'm not sure that would be my recommendation. My recommendation is that, first of all, before you have sex with somebody, you really want to know what and who you're sleeping with. And in today's world, if you're meeting people online, you really have no idea. If you meet someone through a friend or through someone else, you might have a little bit better idea of what you're dealing with. But I've heard a lot of stories out there, ladies. So I would be very cautious with your bodies and very clear with your boundaries. And you need to find out who these men are before you go jump into bed with them. And if you think that you need to jump into bed with them right away because otherwise they won't continue dating you, you need therapy. And you should call me because we got to work a little bit on your boundaries and your self image because that's just that's just not, you should never feel like you have to do anything but be yourself to get someone to love you. And I think that's really important when you're dating to understand that concept. But I don't, you don't want to just jump into bed with some stranger. I mean, you don't know if they have diseases or, weapons at their house or you don't know. So I would wait, a certain amount of dates, and I don't know the number, but until you feel like you know who you're dealing with. And there's a lot of good manipulators out there, and there's a lot of phonies out there. And if you're really vulnerable, women, especially women, get very vulnerable when they want to meet somebody. Um, Please, look into who you're doing it with. Now, if it's someone that you've known for a while and it's, friends of friends, you're probably a lot safer, not a guarantee, but you're probably a lot safer. But you do need to have that conversation. Do you sleep? Are you sleeping with anyone else? Because if you are, that's cool, but you're not sleeping with me. You know, when I have sex with someone, it's meaningful to me. And, I'm not going to do it if you're sleeping with other people. Just be like, you can tell me, be open, be transparent. And if you can't have these kind of talks with this person, then maybe this person's really not the right person. Maybe you feel really uncomfortable, or maybe it's you. And again, you're just afraid of being rejected by saying no. So I would say that you got to have at least, I don't know, 6 dates with someone before you would even, consider it. And before you would do it, I think you want to know um, the answers to all the other questions. What is this person looking for? Um, you know, are you the only one they're dating, or are there others? What is their relationship history? And, what is it that they really want? And when you have all that information, then you can make a good decision about whether you want to do that or not. And sometimes it's just not a good idea. And, women, you have to be willing to say, you know, I think you're a great guy, but I just really don't know you. And I'm just not comfortable doing it until I have a little more information and spend some more quality time with you. And quite frankly, if a man isn't going to accept that, I would not continue to date him. I really wouldn't. And it's okay to have some self respect. And if you're afraid that this man is not going to date you because you won't sleep with him, then that also tells you what he's out looking for. He's out looking for sex, which again doesn't make him a bad guy, just means he's wrong for you if you're looking for a relationship. So I think you have to be a mature adults and be able to put out on the table all of these things that should be kind of rudimentary when dating, and have that transparent conversation. And then, and then you decide, hey, are we right for each other? And every couple isn't right for each other. And everyone isn't going to be attracted to you, and you are not going to be attracted to everyone. And you have to have that thick skin when you're getting involved in dating. And do your homework and do your research and do your interviews and your conversations before you put yourself in a vulnerable position that you cannot take back. So again, I would say 6 to 10 dates with a stranger, um, getting all of these questions answered. Then if you want to do it, go for it. If you know the person for a long time, and the situation is not like off online, online dating sites, this person, then of course I think the situation is, could be a lot different and lots quicker, but it should be, there should be a conversation about it. And why I think people ask me this question all the time is because there's not an answer to it, right? I mean, there's just no right or wrong. There's no amount of time that exists that will properly encompass the feeling you're going to have when you just know it's right. I don't feel that I am in a position where I could really quantify that. Although other therapists, are very, out about that they can. I just don't agree. So, you'll know when it's right if you get the proper information and you're honest with yourself and what you want, then I think you'll know just what to do. And you can always call me for a phone session or a virtual session and just throw it out at me. Say, Liz, hey, I just want a half an hour phone session with you. Met this guy, da 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 da. What do you think? And I'll tell you what I think. And you can listen to me or not, but maybe it'll be helpful. So that's about that. And I think it's such a big question, not just because there isn't really an answer, but also because, sex and romance is what makes dating exciting. And people want to have sex with each other. We're sexual beings and it's exciting and people want to do it. Um, but it does come with consequences and it does change things, because, once you sleep with someone, then, you have to worry about diseases and you have to worry about pregnancy. And there's a lot of things. It's not just so simple, and so you really have to think about, okay, am I on birth control? What are we going to use? Can I talk to this person about that? Do I feel comfortable? And if you really love and respect yourself, then these should be kind of natural questions and a natural conversation to have with this prospective partner. And again, if you can't have it, you might need a little help from Liz Live. Give me a call. Um, so okay, next question. Um, Compatibility. How do I know if I'm really compatible with somebody? I get that question a lot. And I think compatibility, is a hard thing to judge because sometimes people can have very different interests but get along great, and wind up having, a beautiful relationship. So, I think compatibility comes down to a couple things. Um, and this is where some of the controversial questions will come in. This is where we're going to get into politics. This is where we're going to get into, politics and a little more politics. Okay. And we're also going to get into some lifestyle, issues. Okay. So when you're trying to figure out, okay, would you be compatible with this person, or who are you compatible with? I think you have to think of lifestyle. What do I mean by lifestyle? Do you work 9 to 5 and this person works 2 p.m. to 11 p.m.? That's gonna be really difficult to have a relationship if you have like completely different, shift times. Like if you're in the medical field or the news business or the service business and you're late night working and you're with a 9 to 5er, or vice versa, that's might be a compatibility issue. You might be great people and get along great, but you're never going to be able to really see each other. It's going to be difficult. So you have to think about those things. Um, what does this person like to do in their free time? Do you guys have similar interests? Do you both live a healthy lifestyle? So, for example, I'm very active and I like to ride bikes and go to the gym and do yoga and walk and be outside. I'm not dating someone who doesn't like to exercise. I wouldn't do it because that's one of the things I love to do. And I like to do it with other people. So if they're not active and they're a lump on the couch and they're a couch potato, it's not going to be compatible for me. And that will come out in every way, shape, and form, right? If you are a couch potato, and you're with a super fit, active person, I'm telling you, it's going to come out in the sex life. It's going to be a problem because someone who's a couch potato is not going to be able to have a sex drive that is going to be able to keep up with someone who's in really good shape. And so you have to think about those things too, you know? Um, how does this person eat? Are they a complete vegetarian and you're a carnivore? Or, I mean, is that a make or break deal? No, but it's something to think about. you know? Not top of the list of importance, but something to think about. I think the biggest compatibility issue that goes into lifestyle is values. Do we have similar family values? Do we want the same things out of life? Are we ambitious and, we're out there trying to change the world and we're, doing all kinds of fun things all the time and trying to, really dive in and adventure life? Or are you just one of those people who's cool just being, average Joe? And again, one is not better than the other. But those people, the ambitious go getter and the average Joe, are going to have very different lifestyles. And, the go getters, they'll blow right by the average Joes. So, which one are you? Are you a homebody or are you someone who wants to be out all the time? Or are you somewhere in the middle? Because again, if you want to be at home all the time and your partner wants to be out every night, you're going to have a problem. That's not compatible. So you have to really, and these are things you're not going to know off the bat. You're not going to know it from reading a dating profile. You're not going to know it, from a date. It's going to take a little while to figure out whether or not you're compatible. And it's also, going to take some dates and some being together to see, if you're compatible. Do you have the same values in life? Do you um, enjoy doing the same things? And do you have some of the similar beliefs? And this is where we're going to, get into the political ideas. I never thought I'd say this in my lifetime. In all my shows from last year, I would always say, whatever you do, don't let politics destroy your relationships. It's not important what people's political views are. What matters is how they treat people. And I still believe that. I have friends of all different political backgrounds. I have one of my best girlfriends is a bleeding heart liberal, and my other best girlfriend is a hardcore Republican. Okay. And I love both of them equally. We don't, it's not a problem for us. Our friendships are way beyond that being a problem. However, it can be a problem for some people who really just, are so married to their belief systems. And if you happen to go out with someone like that, or you happen to be somebody like that, and you're out on a date and you're, a Trump supporter and, a hardcore conservative, and you're out with a progressive liberal, it ain't working. It is not going to work. I can tell you that right now. So I think that unfortunately and sadly, our political ideologies in America today are so polarized that it's nice to know before you get involved too deeply what the views of your new love are, because um, it can definitely cause issues, and you might think it isn't going to, and you might go, oh, no, we can get over that, it's no problem. And I'm telling you, one time an issue is going to come up and it's going to get ugly. So you really have to prepare yourself for that politically. And I think you also have to find out what their views are on vaccinations and masking, and what your views are on vaccination and masking. Why is that important? Well, if you are not vaccinated because you don't want to be, which is your right, and I respect that. If you're not going to get a vaccination and you are going to wear a mask all the time, and you're with someone who's been vaccinated and doesn't wear masks anymore, it could be annoying. Not the biggest issue, but a lot of people who are vaccinated don't really want to be around people who are not vaccinated, which to me is kind of ridiculous, because if you're vaccinated, what are you worried about? But they say, and I don't know who they are, but some studies show that even with a vaccination, you can still potentially get the virus, although it won't be very severe. And so, now not only worried about we're not worried about getting COVID so much, but we're worried about, are you vaccinated? Are you not vaccinated? Are you an anti-vaxxer? Are you not? I mean, my goodness. So again, these are things early on to sort of talk about and get out of the way. So, am I compatible or not with this person? And you know what? There's nothing wrong if you're not compatible. It doesn't ever, just because people are different than you doesn't mean they're bad. There's plenty of room for everybody in this world to think and be however and whoever they want. But when it comes to who you're inviting into your closest position in your life, your significant other, you better be aligned in your belief systems and in your value systems, because ultimately that will destroy the relationship. And if you're not an open-minded person, then it's going to be even more difficult. I would say to you, even more important that you pick someone with the same political views, the same views on vaccinations, et cetera, and just save yourself the headaches of having to go through all that. Very important in today's world. Okay, what else we got here? Um, oh, how do we know? This is a good one. How do we know if my the person I'm dating is, a good person? How do I know if they're basically good? And this is, if I had the exact answer for this, I would be a bajillionaire, and, everyone could listen to what I say, and then we wouldn't even have to date, we would just know. So I can't obviously completely answer that with any degree of certainty in an honest way, but I can certainly offer you some things to look for that may indicate that this is a quality human being versus somebody who may have some issues and may not be, um, a good choice for you. Okay, so I'm big on basic manners. Okay, um, if I would not date somebody that didn't have good manners, that didn't know how to say please and thank you, that doesn't know how to be on time, that doesn't know how to, open a car door or open a door. And again, I'm not saying that I expect the car door to be open for me every time I get into the car, but when I'm first meeting a date, that's something that I like. Again, it doesn't mean I wouldn't go out with them again, but good manners is critical. And maybe that comes from my upbringing, and my mother, really instilled that in me. But please and thank you are always important. So if you're out with someone that really doesn't have very good manners, um, I don't know, that would send me a little bit of a vibe like, I'm not liking that. Um, how do they treat wait staff is a big thing. Um, when you go out to a restaurant and you go on your dates, do they do they treat the wait staff with kindness and understanding, and again use words like please and thank you? Or are they sort of demanding and rude and treat wait staff like the wait staff is beneath them? If you are out with someone who treats wait staff like that, I would not go on a second date with them. I'm very serious. It's a very, very bad sign, because if you're going to treat perfect strangers like that, you have to wonder, how do they treat everybody else? And why do they think that they're entitled to mistreat somebody just because they're being waited upon? That would really, to me, that's a bad sign. So if you're on a date and the woman or man they're out with is treating waitstaff poorly, I would make that my last date with them. And look for manners. Manners are very important. Um, what are their relationships like with their family? And now this is a tricky one, because a lot of us have shitty parents or crappy, siblings or whatever, and it's not our fault, and there's nothing we can do. So I don't know if it's totally fair to try to assess exactly what the relationship is with their family members per se. But what I always like to look at is, do they maintain long relationships? Do they maintain a long, close relationships with friends, with some family? Maybe, there's an issue with their parents or a sibling or something. But outside of that, is this a person that keeps friends? Do they have friends from 20 years ago? Good sign, because that shows you that they can work on relationships. They can work through relationship issues. They're not quick to drop somebody just because, they have a disagreement. And how do they treat their friends and their family? If they have elderly parents, do they go over and check on them? Or do they make sure they're taken care of? Do they, when a friend is sick or going through something, do they go out of their way to do something for that friend? Do they care? How do they care? These are ways that you will learn about who somebody really is. And a couple of dates is not going to do that for you. Um, a couple of dates is going to give you that person's best public relations representative of themselves, but it's not going to give you the real self. So, my rule is 6 months of dating, you'll get a good basic idea of who you're with. 1 year, you should really know what you're dealing with. 2 years, you know exactly what you're dealing with. So to me, 2 years of dating is the magic number before you decide to go for marriage or engagement or something like that. 2 years is a really good amount of time to endure some things together that might be difficult, which is good because it tests a relationship. To see whether or not you can keep your sex life going, to see if you're really compatible, to meet the family, to meet the friends, to really see the big picture and see if this is a person that you can really live your life with. You need 2 years. And then that still doesn't do it, because living together is the ultimate test. And, the research shows that there really is no difference in successful outcomes of relationship for couples that have lived together first versus who haven't. Um, so I guess that's important to think about. It may not mean anything, but when you first live with somebody, it's a little tough and you will argue about things. And so you need a good couple years of a foundation to be able to care enough to really work through those things. So I like 2 full years minimum, um, before we get into engagements and, formal commitments like that. So you have time, and don't rush it. Don't force it. Don't push it. Allow the experience of this person to, you know, come in and try to go into it. I see a lot of women and men really get into dating with, so much, I don't know if desperation is the right word, but like so much, like it has to be, it has to work and it has to be this one. And that makes dating so much more difficult. And I think if you can go into it with an attitude of, hey, I just want to have a good time with this person, and I'm just going to be there, and I'm going to be really present with this person, and I'm going to see how it feels, and I'm going to be honest with myself if I'm feeling something negative, or and I'm talking more about sentience. What do you pick up the energy of this person? Like, do you feel comfortable in this person's company? Even if you're nervous on a date, you feel comfortable. And if you don't feel comfortable, don't ignore that, because that could be your inner intuition kind of saying something to you that, this person makes me uncomfortable, and don't ignore that. Don't ignore that. So I think I'm looking through all the questions I had. I think we pretty much covered all of them. So I'm going to just do a quick recap, and that way we can all, just beat it into our brains. All of these questions about dating in 2021. And, you'll have that in your brain, cemented in your brain. And then you can keep this video and you can always have it to fall back on if you're ever questioning anything. Okay. So, numero uno. Um, what's the relationship history with this person? Have they been married 5 times? Do they not maintain relationships on the other side of the spectrum because they're serial daters? They constantly want to date different people and they're not into commitment. You need to find that out. And one of the ways to find that out is with numero due, which is, can I um, can I be sure, which you can by having the conversation, that this person I am going out with wants the exact same thing that I want? That and if it's the answer is no, waste of time. And it doesn't have to be that everyone's looking to get married. It could be, hey, I'm looking for a long-term relationship. Hey, I'm looking for marriage. Hey, I'm looking for a good time. Hey, I'm looking for sex. Hey, I'm looking for, someone to go to the movies with once a week. Doesn't matter. As long as it's the same, you're good to go. If it's different, don't pursue it because you're going to wind up heartbroken. Okay. Number 3 is, am I the only one? Am I the only person that this person's dating? And that's a harder thing to know, certainly. But, you want to ask them and you want to see if they'll agree to a rule of that, hey, if and when we start sleeping with each other, we turn off our dating apps. And quite frankly, if someone's not willing to do that, move on and do not sleep with them. Because again, you're looking for heartbreak. You do not need to betray yourself and your values to receive love. And if you don't understand that, please call me for therapy because it's really important to understand that. When is it okay to sleep with people? That is a very subjective question that I don't have the exact answer to, but you need to know some basic information about that person that I just discussed before jumping into bed with someone, because those answers will help you make up your mind if you're going to do it in the first place. And I know everyone wants to see if they're sexually compatible and they get excited and you want to, you want to do it. But I would say if it's a stranger, 6 to 10 dates before you consider it, and make sure you have all these questions answered before you do it. Because that's really the only way you can protect yourself, really. Are we compatible? Are we compatible in lifestyle, work schedule, children, no children, pets, no pets? Are we compatible with our future goals? The activities we like to do? Are we compatible with those with this other person on all of those things? Very important to find out. And I think the more you spend time with someone, the more you'll find out whether or not you're compatible. So dates and spending time together is critical, obviously. Um, do they have basic manners? Do they say please and thank you? Do they return your calls on time? Do they call you and say, had a great time last night? Can't wait to see you again, or text you, or whatever people do today? Do they seem interested? Are they excited about you? If they're not excited about you, that's a compatibility issue. Don't you want someone who's excited about you, that can't wait to see you again? I mean, that's what I like, but that's all up to you. But that's a good indicator of compatibility. Are they excited? Are you excited to see them again? Basic manners. How do they treat other people around you? Are they welcoming and kind to wait staff, to, people you're bumping into on your dates, to friends? Are they polite? Do they look you in the eye? Do they have a good firm handshake? You know, all of those things are basic manners that I think are critical, and finding out, are they capable of having good long-term relationships? And even if it's not with, their blood, their biological family, because sometimes we just don't get too lucky with our biological families. Do they have long standing relationships with friends, grandparents, cousins, neighbors, whatever, so that you can see, okay, this person invests themselves in relationships and knows how to maintain relationships through their ups and downs, because there's always ups and downs in every relationship. And you want to make sure that the person that you're with has those abilities. Um, because if they don't know how to maintain close relationships with friends and family, they're not going to be able to do it with a dating partner. No way. No way. So, all of these things, very important to look into when you're dating and meeting a new person. But dating can be so much fun and so exciting. And I love hearing about people finding the right person. Um, and oh, I almost forgot. And in wrapping things up, do they have the same views as you do politically and on or about the COVID vax? I think that's part of compatibility for today's world. So that will wrap it up for today. That wraps up Liz Live Wednesday. I am Liz Statlander, marriage and family therapist and mental health counselor, and you are watching Liz Live on YouTube. Make sure right now that you hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you get all the new content that I put on my channel to help you through your life, whether it's dating, whether it's marriage, whether it's friendships, whether it's self, whether it's anxiety and depression, and all kinds of things that we talk about having to do with life and relationships and mental health. You don't want to miss any of my live shows. So make sure that you subscribe. You can also follow me on Facebook. My business name is Actuation Counseling. My website is actuation-counseling.com. All of this information is available right here on my YouTube channel. I'm also on Instagram as at Eliz Therapist, all one word, at Eliz Therapist. You can message me, you can contact me, you can call me through the Facebook app. I'm very easy to find if you want to set up a session. I'd love to meet you and help you talk through your dating issues or your relationship issues or whatever's going on. Thank you for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys Saturday morning at 11 a.m. for our next Liz live on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe and have a great day and have a great date if you're going on one tonight.